have a couple awesome mushers here that are going to help us out. Ashley Patterson and her husband Mark. Take it away.
All right. So, because this handy dandy list, so I don't want to miss anything. So once we actually have somebody that is the official mandatory bag checker, they're going to be the ones that are going around and literally making sure that they can get the musher and look in their sled bag, make sure everything that they are required to have is in there. This is when they're going to be asked, how many volunteers do you want? What we're hoping for is 3 to 5 per team. What is obviously going to happen is different parking admits different dangers of leaving the chute. So this is exactly why we're going to be going around some of these 90-degree bends, because honestly, this is the worst part about leaving a race chute. On pavement, you have no ability to actually stop the sled. Hence why ATVs are also going to be one part of our tools of attaching it to the sled. But we may as well go right over to the sled so you know what I'm talking about. Once the musher has had the team hooked up, this is where you're deciding on how bad the bend is going to be. So this is also where it becomes confusing, more so because if you have a person with 6 dogs versus 10 dogs, you guys can obviously tell you're going to need more people helping for the bigger team. So anyways, if you're designated to, well, let's just say me. All right, I only want 1 volunteer because I have a ATV. We're just going to say the truck is the ATV. The ATV is going to have to either be attached. What would you prefer? Because again, this is what's going to get tricky. On the ATV, we actually have something that is going to be off the front of the rack or the front of the ATV. This is a snub line. Not everybody does this. Some people actually want to just have the snow hook.
A carabiner on the front of the ATV.
Right. So this is actually going to be the potential. Mark, can you be my handler? Please hold out my gang line, which, you know, honestly...
Imagine working for her.
Thank you. So, right there, this looks pretty dangerous, and yes, it is. So,
But you tell the musher to have to hang on to that buck as you're going.
okay, so there you go. That's one thing, too, is this actually either needs to be from the person on the ATV or the somebody's going to be the one that's saying, put your snow hook onto the carabiner. Now the musher is holding on to the snow hook, holding on to the dog sled. Hopefully they're holding on to the brakes, maybe not, maybe they're just standing there. Because once the ATV is hooked up, this line has to be tight. If you guys have never been to a dog sled race, well, it gets quite noisy. Our dogs are not necessarily the noisiest types, but there's a lot of dogs that may have hybrid, crazy vigor, so if they are barking, and if they are actually, well, honestly, if the musher is back here, and there's a dog fight that is happening, you do not need to be the responsible one to do anything with the dogs, either get the musher's attention, but because each dog is going to now be being, you want to hold that line, please? Each dog is going to be being hooked up by either the musher. Usually you don't need volunteers, but just in case, this is a neckline. This is hooked to the ring of the dog's collar. If you are hooking the dog for some reason for helping, the neckline is being hooked first, and then you're going to see this once I hook up the dogs, and then these are hooking to the back of the harness. Usually, the musher has either a helper, you know, you got to have a helper usually. If they do not have a helper, this is the number one thing that you're going to have to understand, is just keep your eyes this direction. Don't be looking at other teams. You have to be committed to being a helper. Now, understanding that each dog is going to have a position, as the lead dogs are put up, this is going to be when, you're going to have to envision this, but once I hook up the dogs, you're going to know what I mean. You're holding on to the team by, same idea, that neck line. This is actually a neck line that is attached to the 2 lead dogs. some dogs are barking, some dogs are
Overexcited.
biting on the line, chewing and pulling, and it can get crazy. But again, every musher is different. Some will just not say anything, but if you do again see a problem starting where a dog has fallen down on the ground, honestly, when we start to do around this bend, if I see a dog fall down, I am gonna either do a big signal of hand ho, I'm gonna do a signal of stop. And that's the next thing that we're gonna go over. Hand signals. The ATV cannot hear what this person up here is going to say. So back there, the musher, the handler.
Sure.
Now there's a official. You have 2 minutes to go. The team has been hooked up. You are now asking for either 1, 2, 3 volunteers. What the volunteer's job is to do. The dogs are all hooked up. What you're envisioning is that each dog is going to be on their own side. Sometimes dogs are shy. If the dog goes under the line and it's pulling back, it's a shy dog. So you don't need to grab onto the collar or the neck. You have much better control coming behind the dog. And again, envision this as the dog is in front. So you're actually able to control the swinging out or swinging in. But again, it's an ATV. So if the ATV is taking all the power out of the team, sometimes it's icy conditions. Don't slip and fall and hurt yourself. Of course, don't step on the dog's feet. But that's also why you're trying to stand behind them. It's snowmobile hand signals. Same idea behind when you want to stop. And the idea behind if, say, we're going around a really sharp bend and the musher for some reason wants the dogs to speed up. So, same idea, it's to go, to speed up, slow down. It's very easy hand signals. The other factor is a lot of times people are they're trying to help, but the one thing that you have to understand that once there's an ATV, really you got to be careful of not getting in the ATV's way too. That machine's going to be able to slow the team down. So I would honestly say with an ATV, and if this was a 10-dog team, either someone right here and someone right in the front, or would you prefer to have somebody in the middle?
In the middle.
So right in the middle you would prefer.
Yeah,
okay?
Because the four-wheeler can handle the sled.
Okay, and that brings me to the next point of if there's no ATV, then that would mean a person right here. Is that still okay? Now that makes our standing there and they're easy to come up to. I'm going to pick those guys over the ones that are really, really shy and backing off. And I guess that's the conclusion. Common sense is always in the back of your mind too. If you see a dog that does not want to be touched, then don't touch him. But from behind, you're still in front of that dog, so you're trying not to step backwards. But when you do come to a stop, because he has seen the musher give the signal, when you come to a stop, stand there with a tight line and look back at your musher. Make sure you know when you're going to go again. Because that's one of the hardest things to explain is once the team has come into the chute and then they're going over, stuff, talking about the musher, talking about the dogs, it's knowing when to let go. That's one of the hardest things. So as the counting down of when the musher is going to depart, literally wait until either 5 seconds and then just let go.
Still holding the sled back in this mannerism until the countdown goes off. But the bar brake, that's this part right here, that's the major braking force for the sled. So if the musher needs to have you stand on the brake, 2 feet on this, keep your knees bent, hook your arms in, let the musher go fix their problem. And they'll come back, you let them step on, before you release the tension.
That's very good information for the people that are out on the snowmobiles.
What they need help for, they need somebody to either stand on their brake or stand on their snow hook. If the snow hook's out, you stand on that snow hook. It can't go anywhere. Let the musher fix their own.
How about when they're out on the trail and they go past where they're supposed to be? Do you have to? Should you ask the musher if they want help turning their sled around? I mean, what's the protocol for that?
Road, you have no ability to stop the team, and you see a team go went past the turn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, went past the turn. Run after the team. Go after the team because they don't have no ability to actually do anything.
Bad situation.
Just get to the team. Hopefully the musher has stopped.
And that would be
Stand right on the bar brake. Fix your dogs. Fix your dogs. There's no way the dogs are going to take off without the musher.
And
The musher might have to wait for the sled to
turn
get
them
close
around.
enough to a snowbank for the snow hook to work too.
Yeah.
So, meaning the worst case scenario is that you have to run down the road, and I've had it happen where you're going around a corner and you tip the sled and you're dragging, so you're actually really happy when somebody helps you.
How about hand signals for the people doing the corners and all that stuff, you know, of making the musher know that it's that way compared to don't do that.
Right, what would you want them to do?
You want it to be very simple.
You're coming up and you're going to take a left.
Right, you don't want the person there scaring the dog.
To be seen at a distance, this is what the heck's going on there.
That looks like emergency, something's wrong.
Exactly, and honestly, sometimes our dogs are like, woohoo, go to that person!
Yeah, they're going to go to that person.
But
problem because of
that
tourists.
can be seen at a distance. The same idea behind it. It's just like you're on landing an airplane.
And if the musher is yelling at you, it's because they need to make sure you can hear them. It's not that they're upset. Like, quit waving! Quit waving!
How to approach skittish leaders. So skittish dogs that are in the front of the team are very hard to, no grabbing.
Right.
It's not that the dog is going to bite you, but they are to, sometimes they go a different direction than you really even want them to. You know, same idea that's what it comes down to, is slow movements, no reaching and jumping. But more often than not, and I also think we should bring this up at the musher meeting, that silly little neckline that it's up there that's attached to the two lead dogs. I have been doing these races now with a lot of the mushers that start without a neckline. So how are you going to lead the dogs without something attaching their collars?
Mandatory.
So I guess that's what we're also going to say is if you are a volunteer coming up to hold your team, make sure that you can see that they're going to be attached by the neck, so then you're welcome to either, right?
Yep, and what we'll do, we'll supply necklines so the helpers of the teams can have a neckline on them. So if there's no neckline on the lead dogs, you can snap one right on.
Because you wouldn't.
Talking about when Marianne did the bio stuff and Messy and everything.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, I guess we don't need an ATV. So what it comes down to is now, because there's so many volunteers, now it's going to be a point of predicting how the turn is going to be. So if this turn is going to be going to the right, you obviously do not want to stand on the right-hand side because you're going to get sucked into the turn. Wide is still looking at the dogs at the same time as looking at meaning if you see the dogs all of a sudden bunch up into a ball, you can do that too. I mean, you can certainly try to get everybody to understand. If there's a problem, you can take it in your own hands to at least be like, "Ah, come on, stop." This is behind the dog. How close you get to the dog is determined on how much you need to pull that out. So you see how the dog starts to react because you're pitted?
I've got my fully warmed up.
Yeah. So there would be one for the wheel, there would be one for the center. So we need a couple more volunteers to designate their spot and just go ahead and give it all.
Yep. Where would you like to be? Do you want to be in the middle or in the back? Okay.
giving the signal a thumbs up, that would be a, so you say your command.
Okay, ready! Ready!
Okay.
Am I going to be in the way?
No.
Can you give the signal to stop?
And home!
Have somebody be the musher and stand on the bar break back there. We'll have you guys just stay in your holding position.
Get my foot over enough so you can get your foot on it. And yeah, you're gonna keep both feet on it. Yeah, you're just gonna stand there and keep your knees bent.
Did you guys notice how I was actually holding the line? Rather than actually dragging them, hold it to where it's up. But that's the idea too, is just like when you're walking a dog, you're not trying to drag it. You're trying to literally lead it. So if the dog is in front, or I'm sorry, in back of you and you're leading it, that's the idea behind it, is you're actually trying to, again, look at the musher, have the hand signals of start, stop, slow down. Because honestly, just like going over that bank, if we had an ATV, I would have been like, slow down.
It's not as hard at the race because it's really not that far that you have to, you know, and you
But
have
if
an
it's
ATV, so you're not really having to hold the dogs back.
How many teams at a time are you facilitating to the chute? How many?
3-minute intervals.
So would one team just keep going down the line for
Three teams
each dog
would be
sled?
set up.
Pardon me?
3 teams in a row.
Three in a row. So
Yeah,
you need
so-
three sets of volunteers at a time.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Say we do have dogs that are jumping and biting and people are trying to still hold the team out. I mean, would you rather them try to stop the dog from doing that if the dog is jumping and biting and lunging? So I've actually seen dogs turn
Really, that's
inside
up
out
to
of
the
their
musher.
harness. And it's like,
Well, I think that's when you just say, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
you've got to leave that to the musher.
Yeah.
Or
that's a good point about bare hands. So brass, bronze, if it's frozen, you gotta warm it up. Or you take another piece of something metal and, metal. Bang it to open it if you don't want to warm it up. But again, that's going to be where really thin liner gloves or bare hands
We
to
can
be able
use-
to open that. This would just be needed for the lead dog.
Correct.
Not for the rest of the team that you guys, you can see that you were holding on to them.
Right, grabbing. Well,
So yeah.
Do you need a line between the sled and the ATV?
That's going to be I'm just going to say this is our imaginary
I have those made.
road crossing protocol. All right.
Oh yeah, I wondered what you thought about that.
So, I mean, if you have snow fencing, that's going to be better than being the human fence, but just like what it sounds like, there's a musher coming and you can see a vehicle coming. Do you have the right to stop that vehicle?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Because if you
Everybody's
see
gonna
that
have-
musher coming and that truck is not able to stop,
Everybody will have a safety
Different.
vest this year.
okay,
Okay, so everybody will have a safety vest. There'll be cones at all
Okay.
the road crossings. There's not going to be fencing.
okay, that's exactly good. I wanted to hear at least, one or
Because
another. Say there was a musher that said, I need help. Are you just able to, is that person that's at the road crossing able to help the musher, say standing on the bar break or whatever? Is that allowed?
Not at the road crossing.
No, okay, so they're not allowed to do anything, that's all up to the
I
musher
mean, unless it's an
the-
emergency.
I like being out there.
Yeah.
So, that's what we'll try to organize, is get everybody where they're comfortable.
And there's one other thing. If a musher yells, "Can you grab my leaders and bring them across the road?" I'd say, "Go ahead."
Absolutely.
What assistance would disqualify a racer from someone along that trail? What would disqualify them? I mean, walking across the road, I guess wouldn't, but what would?
Any assistance on the trail as far as improve. There's really nothing in a race like this that
I can't think of anything.
that would disqualify.
Anybody have any questions for Ashley?
Any,
I mean, if they were running down the road the wrong way, you could help them?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
a-
want
that's a-
people
that's a
getting
dangerous
hurt or
situation.
lost or.
Like she said, if they miss a turn and they keep going, and you can see they're not stopping, get on your snowmobile and go after them.
They're already in trouble
Need help.
time-wise. if
Already
they've done that.
past the point.